on?
Hello, Wayfarers. Hello, Wayfarers, and welcome to another episode of Homebrew Labs, the show where we create brand new content for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I am Matthew. As always, we have our illustrious illustrator Sarah here with us, and our special guest today, another Matthew Rogers, who.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Rogers and Sarah and I have been role-playing together for, goodness, like, well over a year now, I think the three of us, so it's really great to have you on, man. I'm really glad to do that.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Wonderful. So today, we are going to be creating a brand new magic spell for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. As always, we are always happy to take suggestions from the audience and make sure that you guys in the chat are getting involved and pitching us your ideas as well. But for the time being, we're just going to pick out our starting points to set us on our way. And I think the best, from my wonderful hat of randomness, I think
that hat.
It is a wonderful old costume hat that I found in a chest that I have somewhere in my room. I have so much random costume stuff in there, and I don't remember ever dressing as. I've got the. It doesn't really work with the headset.
Not now, but later.
Yeah, definitely. I see. The funny thing is, I don't remember ever dressing as Robin Hood or Peter Pan, or like Peter Pan maybe when I was like a little child, but it wasn't this hat. I don't remember why I bought this hat, but I have it, and
I don't understand.
No, I mean,
Fallaize, we've all been there. Blackout shopping on Amazon. I've done it before. You've done it. We've all done it.
See, that excuse doesn't work for me because I don't drink. So.
We've all been there, really drinking lots of tea on Amazon. Actually, Amazon is the common denominator here.
I think I remember wearing it at university at on a society do or something like that. I think that's when I remember the first time wearing it, but I don't know if that was the first time. But let us get a school of magic, so we have a starting place. So we are going to be creating a spell in Divination School of Magic. So Divination, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is the school of magic which is all to do with detecting and seeing, and a lot of divination magics includes locating things. Scrying spells are particularly divination based. So yeah, divination, that's quite fun. I actually play a divination wizard in one of the Wayfarers League campaigns, and if my GM is nice enough, I might be able to use this spell at some point. I'm predicting, yes, predicting the future. It's all about that kind of the seeing and discerning of truths.
I think it's also
popular spells such as identify and detect magic.
Yeah, and also speaking with.
Speaking with animals and. Yeah, speaking with creatures and stuff. So this could be a nice, very basic first level spell that we will be creating today. Nice and easy first level spell, which will require it will require somatic and material components. So, somatic is familiar. Somatic is referring to gestures with your arms and hands, and material is just having material. It's a thing. And now to determine which class or classes can actually cast this spell.
The materials are quite funny because usually there's some kind of pun along with them.
Yeah, there's usually a kind of reason for them, which is quite fun.
Yeah, detect thoughts
okay, so
you need a copper coin, like a penny for your thoughts.
Okay, so this is a divination spell, which is a first level spell requiring somatic and material components that can be cast by either a bard or a cleric. So,
Bard or
One
a
of my
cleric?
favorite
This is
classes.
awesome. Bard is my all-time favorite class. I absolutely love bards. I don't play them that often anymore because I've gotten just so much use out of them in the past that I want to do different things. So I think the first thing I want to do is just have a look at what spells kind of cover that basis already. So spells that already kind of are covered by divination first level for bards and clerics. We've got things like comprehend magic, comprehend languages, detect evil and good, detect magic, detect poison and disease, identify, and speak with animals. So let's have a thing. Like, what could we do that fits into that kind of realm?
Yeah, it's first level, so it can't be too crazy. It's still gonna be crazy
Yeah.
though, but not too crazy.
Well, you think about
It could still be fun. It just
the
Yep.
the two areas where bards and cleric overlap. So what would they have in common?
So bards and clerics overlap both with like healing spells in particular. So if we have a look, like which spells here are just clerics, the only ones that are just clerics seem to be the detecting of poisons and evil and good, and which ones are just bard. So the kind of common denominator between the two is the detect magic spell. That's the kind of general common denominator. So I think we're getting a lot of kind of detect ideas kind of from the what's already there. So just thinking like, what kind of thing could we be detecting?
Well, with the clerics, sort of like the clerics are the avatars of their gods, and the bards can, if they wish, sing to carry favor with the gods.
Yeah.
So perhaps, yeah, something detecting, but also perhaps something to do with the gods themselves.
Honestly, one of the first things that popped in my head was essentially being able to, because there's detect disease?
Detect disease, yeah, poison and disease, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very topical at the moment.
It is, yeah. We try to stay unpolitical in the show, but sometimes the cards are what they are.
Detect plague.
So I was thinking, like,
perhaps
I like that idea of like having a detecting spell that has some kind of maybe not divine implication, but so there's another spell which clerics get, which some clerics get, which knowledge clerics get, I think, which is called Augury, which is another divination-based spell, and it basically gives you insight into a situation as you're approaching it as to whether things are going to be kind of a positive light or a negative light. I think maybe something similar to that, but it's like detect intention or something along those lines, where it's...
Katie just said detect breath.
Detect breath.
Well, for those dungeon cops, yeah, barbarians walking by over booze, they're like, hey, detect breath. It's like, hey, get back
a magical
in there.
breathalyzer?
Yeah, exactly.
If something living is around...
It's like the opposite of detect undead. What?
Yeah, I mean, detect evil and good detects a whole bunch of different creatures.
But would detect evil and good detect alignment?
It does not. This is something that's very new in 5th edition that previous editions did, because in previous editions, alignment in particular was a very serious thing, whereas in 5th edition, it's much looser.
Yeah, it is pretty. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's kind of... You don't even really have to have an alignment in 5th edition. but detect evil and good specifically is used to detect the presence of celestial, fiend, or undead, I believe.
Yeah.
I will double check that just to confirm, but I believe that is what it's actually meant for. Oh, no, yeah, actually, even more. For the duration, it's up to 10 minutes, and for the duration, you know if there is an aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead within 30 feet of you, as well as where the creature is located, and you know if there is a place or object within 30 feet of you that has been magically consecrated or desecrated. So it's very specific about like creatures that you can detect that have inherently usually evil or good alignments. But does not actually detect the alignment itself.
What if something like detect intention? It's almost like a.
Originally, I think it was detecting intent or detect intention, and it's.
How about a spin on that? Detect the intention of a god or a deity.
Interesting.
That could pretty much be broken.
That could be for a first level spell.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely on the right kind of tracks here with this kind of detecting intention of something, and I think it needs to work similar to Augury almost, where it doesn't give you specifics, just a kind of vague idea. So I think this maybe is a spell that you cast on a creature, and or I guess it specifically should be a humanoid. This should be a spell that I think specifically should affect humanoids rather than general creatures. You target a humanoid with the spell. They have to then make, I guess this would be like a charisma saving throw kind of deal, like because it's similar to Zone of Truth, which is also charisma save. But Zone of Truth is a bit more specific. And then you essentially get a response from the spell, which is either positive or negative. And that gives you an idea of what the person's intentions are. Or you can have it could be good and bad, like Augury does. So that's my thinking at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's going to be somatic and materialistic, or with the materials.
With some kind of material, yes.
Some kind of material.
So I think this
first level spell. Now that's sort of like an seeking someone's intention is sort of like measuring their heart, and looking thinking about sort of Egyptian mythology, and the measuring of the people, the measuring of the hearts of the people that go into their afterlife. They have to be measured against the weight of a feather.
Yes,
heart is heavier than the weight of a feather, so perhaps a feather of some sort.
Nice, I like that. That sounds really cool. So we have it's a so the material component of this is okay. So as like a visual, the material component of this is a feather, and you do the ritual and cast with the feather, and the feather floats in place. And if the person you are casting on fails the saving throw, and they have a negative intent, the feather falls to the ground. But if they have a positive intent, it stays floating in space.
Ooh.
And that's how you can kind of interpret the spell, like the result of the spell.
I'm going to throw you a spin on that one. I was thinking of it of your hands being scales. So the cymatic is holding the feather as two scales. Pretty much like that skull hand that you're in Golden Axe. Where you choose your character and rotating characters. Okay, so you're holding the feather in one hand, and then sort of like a representation of the heart, like appears in the other hand, the offhand, and a physical manifestation of either weight or divine intervention moves your hand. It's like the heart is heavy, the heart is light. I don't know. I just thought
I love this because it's it feels like kind of like a new age thing where like there would be this thing as like, okay, if the feather starts to feel heavy, then that means that it's a negative consequence. Kind of situation. It feels like something you'd go and see like a someone with a crystal ball in a creepy tent in Eastern Europe about.
Also, that itself gets the chance to play with shenanigans. And you know me, I love a shenanigan.
It's a great shenanigan. I love the fact that it's also going to be near impossible to cast this spell without the person knowing you're casting it.
Yes. But also, faking the casting of the spell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a bard walking into a court
for
of
a bard
law,
in particular.
like, we shall judge him now, and like, and then instead of the victim having to throw a charisma saving throw, the bard having to throw a deception
roll. Yes.
Yeah, because actually, we don't know if the magic is, you could state it that the effect is not felt. The person isn't felt to be measured or anything. So it becomes a whole effect of bard shenanigans as well.
100%.
That could.
I think that's so good though, because it kind of acts in the shenanigans is great because everyone outside of the actual spell cannot tell what the actual effect is other than the visual clue given by the caster. They can see what's happening, cannot actually feel the weight themselves. I really love that. That's fantastic. So I think we've definitely
all you have to do is my illusion as your offhand to fake it, and I think minor illusion can it as an no. There's a feat that will allow you to sort of pick that as a bard or as a cleric. I'm not sure.
I don't think clerics can have it. You can get a feat that will allow it. But it's so minor illusion is. I'm pretty sure bards get minor illusion. It's a pretty standard cantrip. Bards absolutely get minor illusion. Clerics
that suit bards down to the ground. I mean, a cleric would never lie. It's such a travesty of justice. But bard, that's bread and butter.
Because you can get trickster domain clerics, which absolutely would. But yeah, it's for bards in particular. I think that's definitely a very strong kind of use for the spell. So our spell is called Intent. Casting time. I'm guessing, just like a. Do we want it to be like just a standard action, or do we want to do like a proper? This is like a ritual and takes like a minute to complete it.
Thinking of it as an action, bam, it's done. With a ritual, it does have a certain sense of gravitas if it's a ritual.
Perhaps it has the ritual tag.
It absolutely could have.
It's level 1.
Yeah, it could absolutely have the ritual task. We could, but then to a cleric but not a bard, because I don't think bards can do ritual castings.
Yeah, they can.
Can they?
I think so.
I, as far as I was aware, it was just wizards and clerics that could do rituals.
No, all classes. I mean, they can do rituals as long as the spell says it's a ritual for their class. Because I know druids have it. I've done rituals as a druid.
Yeah, that's no, fair enough. I have misread that on all of the times that I've played bards.
Trinala did a ritual as a bard / paladin / crazy person.
Okay. So we'll call it one action with the ritual tag.
And they're just they're holding the feather, and the feather gets heavier, or not?
Yes, the feather either gets heavier or it does not get.
I'm just trying to draw it, so.
Fallaize, should we make more spice to that the shenanigans where the spell is felt by the person who it's cast on. So when a bard, it heightens that risk reward for the bard or for whoever. I was thinking the bard.
The person you're casting on knows if you're lying.
So yes, knows if it's being cast. So if you say, "Oh no, look what happens," and they said liar, and said, "No, you're lying," rolls, and then the potential for everything falling about the ears of the person deceiving everyone just gets higher. So that risk reward, it's a big reward, because you're pretty much like telling everyone that this person is untrustworthy. However, the risk to you, especially, I mean, if you're rolling this as a bard, like I would roll, your deception would be pretty high. So you have to make it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because bards obviously can also get expertise, and I think most people that play bards like to put their expertise in either deception and performance are usually the standards.
So for the shenanigans.
Yeah, for the shenanigans. That's it. I've played a lot of bards. I don't generally play shenanigan bards. I play quite straight lace bards usually.
You're missing out.
Then you haven't been playing. It's the best one.
Honestly, my clerics are the shenanigans. My clerics do the shenanigans more than
faith-based shenanigans. Love it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell no.
What do we think for what range can this spell be effective at? Because
okay, all right. I'm thinking you're adding up to that risk reward. You're delving within someone's deepest, darkest heart and soul. I would say feet, because if the risk needs to be so great that you need to be able to say, okay, I'm within stabbing range of this person. So
it's
10 feet, 5 feet? I think close.
I think, 10 feet.
Yeah.
Is a safe bet, but I think you definitely have to be close to these people to kind of make that work.
Yeah.
Okay, so components we know we have
creates that whole that we are creating a sacred ritual. I'm not casting the ritual to you over there. You and me are in the circle of judgment, because this is essentially what it is. That we're judging someone's soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
their soul is worthy to pass into the afterlife or not.
Man,
in a small sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a spell that was maybe concocted for that reason, to judge a person's soul, and then bards found a way to fuck with it and basically just use it as a...
Yes, canon. Write that down. Yeah, a spell by the gods.
That's mine now.
And this is just the water. This is just the watered down version.
There we go.
Nice. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got some.
Okay.
A lot of stuff going on in the comments now. So let's have a look through.
while you're doing that, while you're reading the comments, how about that this spell was stolen by a bard who was being judged by a god and bullshit his way out of death and
Hell
brought
yeah.
the spell back.
I love it.
The ultimate shenanigan.
Wah!
Managed to bullshit his way out of death. That's hilarious.
Of course.
I'm loving these. Rob saying, you can tell that you're a teacher, know too much about... what the heck? Amut? I'm not sure what that's meant to... I'm not 100% sure what that word is.
Yeah, the Egyptian god. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Ancient civilizations and classical. Because they're ancient Greeks, classical Greeks.
Fergus is saying, I'm enjoying the look on Sarah's face as she tries to work out how to draw what Matt and Rogers are saying. Casey saying this is going to be great for interrogations. 100% it is. Awesome friends for Rob. The bard knows the heart and the paladin knows the smite. I love this. Oh my goodness. To get your an amazing way to get your own zealous police force. Yeah, that'd be a terrifying thing for like just the local guards to have access to, right?
Oh man.
Like just be able to determine exactly what your intention is.
Or like a small squad of guards, and they're called like the Feather Squad, and you know the well-known usual suspects sort of like see them come around the corner, Scott, mate, and they're all gone, so they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Casey's saying it'd be really good for a kind of like circus fortune teller, which is exactly what my thought was when I was saying that earlier. Was it does feel like that kind of new age psychic kind of feel.
Age of Aquarius in a big way.
Oh, I love Rob's suggestion here. In order for the spell to work, you must maintain. You have to look directly at the person's eyes whilst you. Once you do it.
Yes.
Which,
great.
So
great
good
suggestion.
for a bard who's trying to bullshit their way through this situation, and they just they cast the spell and look this guy dead in the eye.
You can imagine that it's like that. Yeah, I'm totally doing this legit.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, I think that's all the comments. Duration of the spell, I guess this is just kind of like an instantaneous thing, right? Like you cast it, you get your answer, and it's like you get a one-off answer. It doesn't last for a while, and you can like determine stuff over a period of time.
Yeah,
I think.
Is it for a specific question, or is it for a specific intent of a certain situation? Is it their general disposition? They are, I set fire to babies on the weekend, like lols.
I think that's just it. It's meant to be kind of vague. Like this is not the detect thoughts spell by any means. It's but you could definitely use it with a question. Like you ask someone a question and you cast this spell on them, and you can then kind of discern what their response is that way.
That's great, because that gives the DM a real in and out sort of, their big, their the lynch person has been like cornered, but they can sort of give them a little out for storytelling or for a hook. It's like, this person's not very good, but not in the way that, for a chance of like complex storytelling by the DM.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like in the kind of lawful planes in particular, the extremely lawful planes, this spell would not be considered reliable as the information gleaned from it is too vague to be admissible in like a court of law. It's good for, like, on a local level, it's good for adventuring parties. It's good for like a local guard force or police force. But when it comes to like full-on hardcore courts of law, it's just like, well, that could be in reference to anything, just because this person says that they had a bad feeling about the situation because of this spell doesn't necessarily mean that they did the thing that happened. So I think there is also, it's limited enough for a first level spell that it's got some really good.
It's street justice, not
street justice,
not real justice.
Absolutely, I really love that. Okay, so I'm just got to write all this stuff up now. So the caster takes the feather and holds it out in one of their hands, whilst the other hand remains empty. Upon casting the spell, the target must make a charisma saving throw. If they fail the save, then the caster either feels the feather get Are we thinking, if we're going with that scale motive, is if the feather gets heavier, then it's positive. If the open hand gets heavier, it's negative. Because they're meant to be like the heart is heavier.
Yeah, because the heavier the feather's heavier than the heart, the feather will drop. If the heart is heavier than the feather, the heart will drop. So it's whichever hand drop is the opposite answer. So if the feather drops, it's a pure heart. If the heart drops, it's a sinful heart, or a suspicious heart, or an unclean heart.
Right. Nice. So if they fail the save, then the caster either feels either the feather get heavier, or their open hand get heavier. If the feather gets heavier, then the target's intentions are positive. If the hand gets heavier, then the target's intentions are negative. I think that's kind of sums it up pretty well.
Blaze, a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if the target fails their saving throw. What happens if they don't fail? What if they roll high? They make their saving throw.
Oh, that could be interesting. So maybe if the target succeeds on the saving throw, they can. Maybe then the target can choose which gets heavier.
I'm thinking the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's
the total con.
Yeah, it's definitely a con master spell. This.
Friends,
Yeah.
I will be back in just a moment.
And also
Honestly.
safe from bards, because
Yeah, It's another really wonderful drawing as well. This is so good because it was definitely some concern as to like how to visually represent a spell. But I think this is, I think what you've got there, Sarah, is great.
Sarah knows what she's doing.
So on a successful save, the target can choose whether the feather or the hand become heavier, or get heavier. I'll grammatically check this at some point before we publish it. Nice. I really love that. I think that is such a cool spell. And there's just so many kind of like implications, like how this could be used. It's very versatile, and then you have, oh my goodness, this is going to be really great. This is going to be really, really great.
Awesome sauce.
Nice. I think I don't know really what more else we can kind of cover on here now. So let's have a look. See, we've got quite, again, the comments are just kind of on fire at the moment. Okay, so where did I leave off? Can it get more intense with higher levels? I don't know how you level this one is the thing. We can have a think about that. Like what could potentially be a kind of scale for this if you cast it at a higher level?
Okay. How about? Oh, I'm more fuzzy. How about? Okay, so I'm always about the thing about like very high level spells should get you a lot more, but sometimes I don't like the where spells jump by level by level by level. So
Yeah,
this is a first level spell. So at first level it does something. Oh, excuse me, I've got my camera all fuzzy. I'll just leave it. No one wants to see my face anyway. At first level it does what this does, and then I think we should jump a few levels, and then it does something else. It's along the same theme, but perhaps opposite. Instead of as an intent, but more along of a persuade to change their intention.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just like throwing stuff out here.
Because
this camera is bothering me.
Yeah, because so normally with a spell like a spell like this, usually the only way it scales, you would have it affect multiple targets, but I don't think that really works for this spell. I think I think the idea of maybe treating it like we have the restoration spells, where you have lesser restoration, greater restoration. Having a greater version of this spells, also similar with summon greater steed for paladins and things like that. That has I don't think going down the road of controlling a person's intent, maybe, because that's more, I guess, I mean, it could be, but that's kind of like an enchantment-based thing. Trying to think of, like, is there a way to maybe make it be more specific?
Okay, now this is detection. How about at a higher level, it becomes broadcast? So
yes,
disguising your own intention. Or what were you thinking?
No, I really like the idea of the broadcast. So the detect intent is a first level spell. Only the caster and the target know what the actual result is. But the greater version is the stuff that is used in the Infernal Court, the Divine Court, the Extreme Lawful Planes. That's the version that is 100% in use, because it's the one that gives an answer that everyone in the area can know for certain is true.
Yeah, and only high-level respecting clerics and exceedingly shifty bards know how to do it.
Yes, I am 100% aboard on that. So let's have a think about like what level would that be casting wise, because that could be potentially shifting.
Yeah, and it is like an exclamation point on "this is the truth," and no one can deny. So I think it needs to be high.
Yeah, I'm thinking
6+.
You're reckoning 6+.
6+,
I think,
yeah.
Yeah. I think 6 is a good spot, because 6 is... You get 6 level spells at around level 11. At a level 11, so... Or maybe it is... Maybe 7th, and then you have to be a 13th level caster to be able to make that work. Because you want to have... Yeah. Alright, so let's make the greater version a 7th level spell. We'll call it, yeah, so it's...
Yeah, because this would be used by judges and advocates and people in high standing who have been around and seen a few things, adventurers who have pretty much, gone into retirement, into, legitimate law work.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, greater detect intent. Most of the features of it are the same. I think for greater detect intent, I think... Ooh, I've got an idea, but I need to check something. I think the feather needs to be more specific for the material component. I think we need maybe something along the line of like the
feather of an SMR.
The feather of... I was thinking like a straight up like feather of a like planetar or something.
Okay, like, yeah, something heavy.
Yeah, something substantial that's got some weight to it. And I think because planetars and or maybe a deva, kind of a lesser angel, like a deva, that are still kind of like medium size, because it's a lawful good creature, so the lawful aspect has to be there. But so let's say a deva feather is required for that,
and that makes it so that you can't just this person snatched my purse. I was like, all right, get us a feather and we'll sort this out. No, it's got to be for serious crimes or serious how would I put it? Trials of state, where this is something where we need the divine interpretation of gods.
Yeah,
we're not dealing with purse snatchers here. We're dealing with people of treasonous designs.
Nice. So the standard detect intent, whether the spell is successful or not, both times the results of the spell is only known to the caster and the target. And that's going to be kind of the defining feature of this greater spell. So,
Fallaize.
Yes.
One last thing about the feather for the lesser spell. Can it be from a bird that was never killed in malice? So it's either
I
come
love
off
the specifics of that.
it's never come off the bird. Birds lose feathers all the time. But however, it's either been killed by natural causes like a predator. However, it's never been killed out of anger. However, huntsman feeding his family is okay. However, someone who's irritated with a bird, that creates a false effect, and the feather itself poisons the result. So, for more shenanigans of giving someone a tainted feather.
Heck yeah, I really love that. Rob's also got a really good suggestion there.
What's that?
I think this is for the greater one. Is the spell will broadcast to all of the people in the area within like a certain radius, but after the spell has been cast on the person, they are marked. The person is then marked with the result of the spell in some way, so that if they try to escape judgment, they are marked. If they are found to be guilty and escape judgment, they are then marked as a criminal using magic, which I think that sounds really cool.
Wow. And that would be so great for like a redemption arc in a player character, as they have been marked, and now they have to unmark themselves.
What a great bond for a character, for an adventure, for a character in a game. That would be so good that they kind of start with that mark.
Yeah, you can start like to your character. You're in a tribe. Someone, and the slipping of a tainted plantar feather or something, of a fallen feather. Something where you can really build up the politic of it, as who was able to slip this very rare feather in this trial was tainted. I can think of various options of where you could get the big bad hiding amongst the good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think. Oh my god, it's so good. So, for the greater version, it's more or less the same wording for most of it. The caster takes the feather and holds it out in one of their hands, whilst the other hand remains empty. Upon casting the spell, the target must make the charisma saving throw. If they fail the save, then the caster feels either the feather or their open hand get heavier. If the feather gets heavier, then the target's intentions are positive. If the hand gets heavier, the target's intentions are negative. On a successful save, the target can choose whether the feather or the hand gets heavier. Either way, the result is magically marked upon the target for all to see, and can only be removed if the
yeah.
So so if it's okay, so for all to see, if the target is marked with a feather, then with a feather, then the mark fades after 24 hours. If the target is marked with a hand, then the only ways to remove the mark is is for the target to redeem themselves.
Should they be redeem themselves in the eyes of the god that has been asked to judge?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, in the eyes.
Yeah, great idea. Good one.
In the eyes of the god who places judgment, or through the use of a wish spell.
Oh,
because there's got to be a way for them to remove the mark without having to be the good guy. They just need super high level magic to do it.
Yeah, you don't want to, box people into, oh, you need to be good now. You've got to give people the opportunity to become even worse.
I've just seen Katie's just comment on that. There's a goddamn bird smack. It's like, well, that one's no good. Can't use that one for the spell anymore. So, in the eyes of the god who places judgment, all through the use of a spell. Yeah, I think that it definitely has to be a because this whole thing is about shenanigans, so there has to be a shenanigans way of getting around it, but it's just super powerful. I love this so much. I think this is really cool.
High end goals. I mean, those are the getting redemption in the eyes of the god, or getting someone who is powerful enough to just let you have the wish spell. I mean, that's two great avenues.
Yeah, or I mean, depending on the person, getting to a point where you can cast the wish spell yourself. But yeah, it's two really great ways to kind of do it, and it works. If this also kind of becomes a plot point for a character, someone who uses that as their bond, is that they are marked by greater detect intent, then that character arc can happen in multiple ways. It doesn't just have to go down that one route. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. And I really like what we've done there. And we set out to create one spell, and we created two. So,
all right. Now this is where true shenanigans happen.
Let's hear it.
What happens if they die and have greater restoration? Does the mark remain?
So what happens if they die? And when you say great restoration, you mean?
Okay, no, sorry. True resurrection. Sorry, yes. They
true
die and they
resurrection.
get brought back. Yeah, they get brought back from death.
I think let's call it a wish spell or similarly powerful magic, because true resurrection is also 9th level.
What if they get reincarnated?
I think so. Reincarnate is.
I mean, that's a really extreme way to get rid of it. Dying and coming back totally dead,
coming back as a completely different creature.
Yes.
Let's have a look. So,
I keep being
just trying to work out what spell level reincarnate is.
Greater restoration is around 5th, I think. No, I was.
So greater restoration. I'm not sure what greater restoration. Reincarnate is a 5th level spell.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be. Yeah, I don't think reincarnate should be able to remove the mark.
Okay.
I think the new body maintains the same mark, which if the character is
so
trying to hide it from the party. But I love the idea it makes an interesting party moment as well, because if you've got a character that's got this mark on them of a hand somewhere on their body, and the party know about it, but they don't necessarily know what it is, and then that person dies, gets reincarnated into a new body, and the mark is still there. That's going to raise some questions.
Or that whole tension of that they don't know it's there. The character knows it's there, and most probably the players notice it, but the play characters don't know it's there, and that tension of keeping that mark hidden, that brand almost, that can create some great role playing segments.
100%. Because there's so many things that are like they mark you, and we use it all the time in role-playing games. We use it all the time with character works of like, oh, this character was marked as a slave, or marked as a criminal, or marked as this, and like this person was marked as someone who was condemned by the gods themselves, and or by a god, and in a high court of either divine or infernal law, and has somehow escaped justice. And I think that's
powerful.
Oh man,
that's super powerful.
Are we going to see this in the villains campaign? Is that someone going to?
Oh my god! I so want to use this in the villains campaign. Yeah, this is so good in the villains campaign.
Oh, but I'm thinking now of the artwork of different gods having a different style of brand.
Yeah.
Of like. Yeah, Osmodius having sort of like this fire streaking burnt brand. Who else? Who would be the worst one to have a brand from?
I think it would be probably worse to have it from the devils than it would be the angels, because it'd be like
no.
Infernal Court is insane.
Yeah. But who would you consider like the most forgiving god? The one
the most forgiving. Lathander, probably. Yeah, Lathander is very.
Yeah, imagine being branded
forgiving.
by Lathander, like a sunbeam brand, where it's with sunbeam and light, and it's actually very beautiful. However, the meaning behind it is terrible. That the most forgiving, most gracious, most loving god of the pantheon does not see you, does cast his eyes away from you. Wow,
that would be heartbreaking. As that, I also love the idea that you have a god like I'm trying to think what their name is now, like. A god like Umberlee or some like really chaotic evil god has marked them with this thing, and it's just like, and then at that point that adventurer is just like walking around flaunting it. It's just like, look, I've been condemned by Umberlee. What a great like status symbol that would be.
Getting multiple ones, like badges from scouts.
Collecting them from the evil gods. I will. That is my character's goal in the next campaign: is to get themselves condemned by every evil god.
Oh,
I just couldn't bear that.
I'm imagining one who has been cast down by Lathander, a no-name brand cleric, who has like the torn vestments of his previous office. However, it has no magic. Has no. He still has the quintessential shield, chainmail, hammer or mace. However, is just a fighter, and is just a fighter, but has all the trappings of a cleric, but none of the magic or none of the blessings. And sort of like the reveal of the hand of Lathander, of that, what tragic story led to this?
Yeah, that a cleric of Lathander lost their favor with their god so much that in a celestial court of law, this spell was cast upon them, and they were deemed to be. Oh god, they were deemed to be like dishonest, disloyal, unworthy, and were cast down by that god. What a great backstory that would be for a character. It's goodness. This is what I love about this series.
Let's wrap this up and let's play.
Yeah.
I've got my character concept already.
It's great, right? This is the thing I love about this series, is that every time we create something like this, and it's always kind of in the way we've described it, it's always going to be, we're just creating content for 5th edition. It's like, no, we are building like potential stories with everything that we do on here. Our magic item, monster, our town, and now our spell all have this kind of huge role play ability to them that a lot of the official D&D stuff doesn't necessarily have. A lot of it is just there to serve mechanical purposes, but this just gives so much like potential for roleplay, and I love it. But it is time for us to kind of wrap things up, and I think we've come up with something super awesome. So I'm really happy with this episode. But for those who are watching, thanks for tuning in, and make sure, if you haven't already, to follow us and subscribe. If you are on Twitch, you can actually use your Amazon Prime to get a subscription for free, and we are very gracious to receive that if you decide to bestow that upon us. Thank you, Rogers, for joining us on this episode. This was great fun. I'm so glad that we had this. You were asking at the beginning, like, why get you on? It's like, because this is awesome. This is awesome what we've created together. This is exactly why we get you on. I look forward to getting you on for another episode. I look forward to having you on for another episode, creating something else as well. It's going to be good fun. So for everyone else, make sure to, if you're not familiar with who we are and what we do, head over to the wayfarersleague.com, or just wayfarersleague.com. Don't put the "the" in there. I don't know why I said that. Wayfarersleague.com. That will give you the link to all of our events, the information about us, and also the links to our Discord, where all of this wonderful shenanigans and communications happens within the group. We've got new games coming up all the time. We're currently putting together our list of one-shots for February, so get in there so you can get involved with those. Got some really cool stuff coming up for February. And have a great evening, everyone. It was great to have you here. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the kind of final episode of this first run of the Homebrew Labs, but we're going straight into the next cycle afterwards, so there's no break or anything. But the final episode for this run is going to be creating an encounter, and I have a guest I think lined up for that, who I'm really excited to have on board as well, is a GM that I've played with, that we've all played with actually here for a long time, and be very excited to have him on board. So make sure you tune in for that. But otherwise, have a good evening and stay safe.
Bye, guys.